How's it going, everyone? My name is Ethical J, and welcome to my very first hacking demonstration slash tutorial. A little bit about me in this channel. Basically, I've made this channel because hacking is a hobby of mine. I really enjoy it, and I'd like to share it with as many people as possible, and maybe people can also learn a few cybersecurity techniques and best practices along the way. So, before we get started, a little bit more about me. My name is Josh. I am a cybersecurity master's student at WGU, which is Western Governors University, and I am also a certified ethical hacker from EC Council, as well as a certified hacking forensic investigator, and I also have Security Plus. So those are the three certifications that I have. And I also work in the IT field. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this first video. So what we're doing today is we are going to exploit a Windows XP machine, which is of course going to be our target, and our host is going to be a Kali Linux machine. Before we start, I would like to show you this Microsoft security bulletin. This is the vulnerability that we'll be exploiting. So for those of you that don't know, Microsoft releases security bulletins every year. And this one specifically that we're looking at is MS08-067. So the 08 means that this bulletin was released in 2008, and this is the 67th installment in the 08 bulletins. So real quick, this is the vulnerability that I'm going to show you today. 067, it basically is going to allow remote code execution right here. So I'll read this real quick. So this security update resolves a privately reported vulnerability. Basically, the vulnerability could allow remote code execution. And it lists here Windows 2000, Windows XP, and Server 2003. So here we go. This is the target box that we are going to be attacking today. A little bit more information about it here. Let's take a look. So basically, Microsoft is recommending to its users, in order to mitigate this vulnerability, you should block ports 139 and 445. Now, 445 is the SMB protocol, which is the Server Message Block Protocol. This is a protocol that's basically used to share resources between computers like files and printers. So that's what we're going to be targeting, is port 445. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up real quick is the CVE website. So CVE stands for Common Vulnerability and Exposure. It's basically just a list of all sorts of reported bugs and vulnerabilities in computers and software and operating systems. So basically, this CVE relates back to our Microsoft Security Bulletin. You can see it right down here, MS08-067. So this is just basically the pretty much the same thing as a Security Bulletin, but just in a different format. And again, it's telling us that there can be remote code execution right here, specifically on Windows XP, and this is mentioning Service Packs 2 and 3 are most likely vulnerable. Alright, so that's it for the intro, guys. Let's go ahead and actually hop into the hacking here. So I'm going to pull up my virtual machine right here, and what I have turned on right now is, of course, the Kali Linux box that we're going to use to hack, and then our target, which is this Windows XP right here. So to begin, what we're going to do is we're going to open up command prompt on our target. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the ipconfig command, and that's basically going to tell us what the IP address is of the target. And so we can see it's a 192.168.110.132. Okay, so that's the information that we need to get hacking. So let's go ahead and open up what I like to use is Terminator. You can download this very easily in the command prompt. I'd recommend looking it up. But what I like about Terminator as opposed to Terminal is it allows you to split the screen. You can have two terminals running, which I really like. So let's go ahead and reset that there. So what we're going to do first, ethical hacking, we'll say, has multiple steps. And they are footprinting, scanning, vulnerability analysis, gaining access, privilege escalation, maintaining access, and clearing logs. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and start at the scanning phase. So we're going to use a popular ethical hacking tool called Nmap. And Nmap basically allows you to, I believe it stands for Network Mapper. It allows you to, of course, map a network and determine hosts that are up or working on a network. So what we're going to do first is we're going to type in the commands. So first it's going to be nmap, of course. The first parameter that we're going to enter into nmap is the S capital V. Now Linux is a case sensitive operating system, so you have to make sure, of course, that you're using the correct case, upper or lowercase. So SV, that's going to basically tell us the services and the version of the services running on our target. Now we're also going to type in T4. That is basically telling us how fast we want the scan to go. So T4 is pretty quick. T1 would be a really slow scan. And we would want to use a T1 if we're worried about getting caught, because a slower scan is going to be less likely to set off alarms on the target system. But since it's a demonstration, I'm going to do T4, which is a pretty quick scan. Now I'm going to type -O, and that's going to give us more information about the operating system, whether it's a Windows or Linux operating system, for example. Now, we set up all the parameters. I'm going to type in the IP address, and it was 192.168.110.132. All right, so let's go ahead and hit enter, and we will start scanning our target, and I'll be right back. All right, we are back. I'm going to go ahead and expand the terminal here. And if you remember from the CVE as well as the Microsoft Security Bulletin, we know that the vulnerable ports, one of them was 445. And again, that's the SMB protocol that we mentioned earlier. So we can guess simply from this scan that the target is most likely vulnerable. Again, the target is this Windows XP. This is the device that we just scanned. We know that it's vulnerable because here it says it's most likely running Windows XP Service Pack 2 and 3. And if we go back to the CVE, we can see here that it's the most likely vulnerable device is going to be Windows XP Server Pack 2 and 3. So that's one way we can determine the vulnerability here. So I'm going to demonstrate another type of scan, and this scan is generally a no-no in the ethical hacking community, just because it's kind of too easy. I'll show it to you real quick just for demonstration purposes. So this command is going to be, again, an nmap scan. Do nmap, we're going to specify a port. So the port that we wanted to attack is 445 because that's the vulnerable SMB protocol port. And then we're going to go ahead and do an nmap script scan. So in order to use an nmap script, you're going to do -- and type in script. And then we're going to type in vuln. That's the type of script that we're going to use. It stands for vulnerability. And again, the target. All right, so now that that's typed in, we're going to go ahead and put -pn here at the end. And we're going to hit enter. And I'll be back with you when this scan is complete. All right, and the scan is now complete. So what I wanted to point out to you here is what this script does is scan for vulnerabilities on a specific port. And if we look at some of the vulnerabilities, it mentions a couple of the Microsoft security bulletins from 2010, 2017. But what we're looking at here is the MS08-067. That's familiar. That's because it has identified this Microsoft security bulletin relating to this particular vulnerability. And so that's kind of what the script does. And now specifically, you can also see here that it mentions the CVE as well. And if we pull this back here, you can see that this CVE number 2008 4250 basically matches up right here. This is the CVE. It's talking about it right here. And again, this description is the same as the one I showed you on the website. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight this CVE number or ID here. And in Linux, when you highlight text, it automatically copies it. And then you can paste it using the center scroll button, pressing down on that. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to split our console here. And now we're going to launch the Metasploit framework. The Metasploit framework is another ethical hacking tool that contains a large amount of exploits that you can launch against a target. So in order to launch it, we're going to do MSF console. And that's going to go ahead and open it, and I'll rejoin you when it comes up. All right, so now MSF console is open. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. So what we're going to do now is, remember how we highlighted the CVE up here? What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and search for that CVE within Metasploit framework to see if there's any exploits for it. So we're going to do search and then paste in the CVE. Now we can see that there is indeed an exploit for that particular CVE. And here you go, you can see that it is mentioning SMB, the Server Message Block Protocol, as well as the security bulletin from 2008 that Microsoft released. So now let's go ahead and actually use this exploit. And again, we're just going to highlight it here to copy the exploit, paste it, hit enter. Okay, so basically looks like it loaded the exploit successfully. There was no payload configured, but it defaulted to Windows Meterpreter Reverse TCP, which is a payload that we actually want to use. But I'm going to go ahead and teach you how to load a payload in case it doesn't load the correct one for you. So you're going to go ahead and do show payloads, and I'm sorry, show payloads. And there you go. Here are all the payloads. So somewhere in here is the Windows Meterpreter Reverse TCP. So what you would do is, let's say you want this one. Oh, actually that's it right there. You're going to go ahead and highlight it, and that copies it. And then you're going to type in use payload, and then you would copy and paste. Okay, sorry about that. Took me a little bit of meddling, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to type set payload, and then you're going to paste the whole thing, payload Windows Meterpreter Reverse TCP. Okay, so now we got to set our parameters for our attack. So let's do show options, and there we go. We can see that our local host is indeed our Kali Linux device here, and then the local port, which it's going to use to establish connection, is port 4444. And basically, if you want to change that, you would type set L port, and then you would type in what you would want. So set L port and 444, for example. There we go. Okay, next we need to set the remote host, or the target. So we're going to do set R host, and it's 192.168.110.132. There we go. All right, so now that our parameters are all set, we're pretty much ready to launch this exploit. So you can type either run or exploit, and that is going to launch the attack. So if it is successful, you're going to see this Meterpreter shell right here, and that basically means we now have the ability to execute remote commands on this device here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to type in help, and that's going to show us all the exploits and additional malicious activities we can perform on this computer. Alright, so the one that I'd like to show you today is screen share. So we're going to go ahead and highlight that to copy it. But I wanted to point out a few other things that this Meterpreter allows you to do, this Meterpreter session allows you to do. So you can upload a file to the the target device. You can do a few other things. You can shut down the computer. You can get a shell, which allows you to basically open up a command prompt session. You can also screen share, which is the one I'm going to show you. You can also record the webcam and activate the mic. There's a lot of pretty nefarious stuff that you can do. You can dump hashes. Basically means that you get a hash file of all the passwords. You can also try to elevate your privilege with the get system command to maybe get admin rights. And you can also clear out log files to basically cover your tracks. And remember, I mentioned the different steps in ethical hacking, and a few of those steps would be privilege escalation and covering tracks, which are all things that you can do with a Meterpreter session. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate screen share. So what that's going to do is going to open up an HTML link here, and as you can see, this is the target IP address that we've been attacking. And if I open up the Windows XP box, you can see that this is indeed a live video feed of the Windows XP device. And if I go back here, you can see that when I opened up command prompt, you can actually see it here as well. So pretty nifty. We're going to go ahead and close that out, and I'm going to show you one more cool thing that we can do here. Okay, I apologize about that. There was an issue with the session, so I actually had to re-establish Meterpreter session. But the last thing I want to show you is the shell command. So if we type in shell, that basically gives us a command prompt session with the target device, and this is really powerful because we can do so much with that. So we're going to go ahead and go all the way back to the first directory, and we're going to type in dir, and that's going to show us all of the directories or files here. So let's go ahead and cd into documents and settings. CD documents and settings. All right, let's hit dir again, and we're going to go ahead and go into all users. Let's see here. And then hit dir again. Let's go ahead and go into the desktop. Okay, so now that we're in the desktop, we can list out what is currently in the desktop. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to echo the words you got hacked, and go ahead and pipe that over into a hacked .txt file. And there we go. So that command executed. If we go back to Windows, we can see on the desktop, there's our hacked file. So that's just a little demonstration of how powerful this exploit is, specifically how powerful Meterpreter is. So pretty much that wraps up the demonstration, guys. I really hope that you like this video. If you'd like me to do a video on how to set up your own home lab so you can actually conduct this exploit, just let me know. I'd be happy to do that. And please like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more hacking demonstrations and ethical hacking educational videos. Thanks for watching.